What's up, you guys? It's Friday. Sarah Ripple here with Ripple Effect Fitness with my colleague Bobins, aka Bobo, aka Triple B, Benjamin Bocephus Button. He is just exhausted from his super busy week of taking naps and taking walks. So what we're going to do today is talk about the core. Okay, so I've done a few videos that have touched on this. Probably most of my videos have kind of touched on it because essentially...
Hi, J-Lo.
What's up, J-Lo?
She said, love me some Bobo. Who doesn't?
Right. So, I mean, if you really break it down, like any exercise that we do is a core exercise, okay? So when you kind of think about it that way, it makes sense to think about the importance of holding positions and holding alignment and just keeping engagement at a low level with everything you do. So you're not walking around trying to tense up or like flex your abs or do anything like that in normal life, unless you're weird, which I'm weird, whatever, don't do that. So the importance of a group of exercises that I call core statics is that it's, each of these is teaching you how to engage and to hold the positions for a duration of time. Okay, so all of this kind of stuff is relatively simple stuff. Because of that, it could be disregarded as basic or too easy or boring or whatever. But like it's not. It's foundational. It builds for it's what everything else is built upon. So in a nutshell, like when we're talking exercise, we want to kind of have like exercises that are more stability based or stability based over here on one end of the spectrum. And then way over here are exercises that are more dynamic and explosive and whatnot. So Olympic lifting, sprinting, da-da-da-da-da. So there's this whole spectrum of contractions and like intensity and all these different like ways of expressing strength and power and explosiveness. But if you don't have stuff over here, there's no way in hell that you could be doing the stuff over here safely or effectively or to your full potential. So it makes sense to work on the stuff that's going to allow you to do everything else, especially right now, for those of y'all that are unable to get to a gym or don't have a lot of equipment at home. For a bulk of what we're going to touch on today, you don't need anything but your body. Okay, so I've made myself a little cheat sheet to go off of, but we're going to kind of do what I do, which is kind of hopefully not go too far down a rabbit hole. But I wanted to just bring y'all a few like examples of exercises that are like progressions within each kind of position. So first thing that we're gonna do, I'm just gonna start at the top of the list. We've got supine positions, so that just means face up. So keeping it simple because there's lots of different ways we could go here. We've got bridging, which is a glute exercise, but it's also core. So if we talk core, I'm also including glutes in there. When I say core, I'm pretty much talking about anything that's like ribs down to the bottom of your butt, okay? So this region. So we got bridging, we got hollow body, and we also have dead bugs. So I know I talked about bridging on the video where I talked about glutes, but it's important to just kind of recap it. So if we're talking just a body weight bridge, we've got essentially three positions you could have the arms. We could go here with palms up, which is going to be more stable because you're covering more surface area. My favorite position to do without, if we don't have any load, is elbows flexed at 90. You can press down into the ground with your upper arms. If you want to make it more of a balance challenge, you can move your arms up. I sounded like I'm from Minnesota. Balance challenge.
Balance challenge.
From Boston. So move your hands up to your forehead so that you don't have any upper body helping you stabilize. So whichever arm position you go with for a basic bridge, we've got a two-legged bridge. So if we're talking isometric, which is statics, which is what we're talking about today, that means you're just going to hold a position. So on an isometric bridge, you would basically hold this position right here for time. So what I would suggest would be a 5 to 10 second hold with a 5-second rest, and do that for anywhere from probably, let's just say 2 to 4 reps per set. Okay, that way you can get a maximal contraction back here and lock this position in. and you're not having to hold it for an insane amount of time, which is boring, but also too, things fatigue and break down. So typically, I like to do shorter holds with more intensity because people do them better.
Yeah.
Okay, so we can go two-legged bridge. We've got a marching bridge, which is kind of a transitional because it's more of an isodynamic in that we're holding this isometric position but moving the legs. So for this one, I would suggest just counting reps, and I would say 5 reps on each side. That's a more advanced progression there. And then we also have like a single leg, which we can go with the arms here, or we could do a lumbar lock variation, which I showed, I think, last week on that glute video. But you could hold here. You could even hold here. Okay, so we're keeping the key is to keep the hips level and not dropping. Okay, so from the bridge with just those options, we can add different elements with the upper body. So we can do statics where we're holding just a two-legged bridge, but we're doing a dumbbell press. So we're integrating kind of that upper body movement. We could also do a pullover and just hold the bridge the whole time. So these you would do for reps. You can also make it more of a dynamic variation with the lower body and upper body moving together. So on the press, as the hips come up, we could press, and then vice versa. But then you could also kind of do it out of sync. So we could go here.
Oh.
Okay. So either one works. We could also do a pullover with a bridge, where we go here, which I think I showed on that glute video. But when you do the pullover with the bridge, what's neat is it really fires up when you do this arm action here. Okay. So then we could also on the presses do alternating. Get kind of fancy. So we're integrating more of a rotational kind of effect where the weight's wanting to pull you this way. So that makes it a little bit different. Okay. So that just gives y'all kind of a little taste of some stuff that y'all could do, integrating some arm movement with the bridge. So one little neat thing you could do with bridges is you could do feet elevated. So on some sort of surface, so maybe your couch or something like that, or stability ball, which I showed before, you can do bridges that way. The trick is that the catch is that you don't get to push through your entire foot, which I've said several times. When you elevate the feet, you've got to push more through the heel because you can't get your feet flat. So it's kind of a trade-off. We're increasing the range of motion a little bit the higher we put the feet. So we can also, this isn't high enough, but you can also go straight legs. So we can get a little bit higher surface and change the bridge up that way. And again, I just wanted to touch on these things. If I tried to sit here and try to make every single possible variation that I use, we'd be here all day. So let's move on to the hollow body progression. So I've shown this before. I like to do a progression where I like to start with a tuck hold, where I'm crunching up, trying to keep my low back against the floor. So from here, I move into what's called a hybrid, or what I call a hybrid hollow hold, where I keep one leg up, extend the other, and halfway switch legs, or if you're holding for a 5 second, you can come down, rest for 5 seconds, and then do the other leg. That's kind of an intermediate position, and then we move into more of the hollow body position here, and then we can take the arms overhead. Okay, so that's just the basic progression with the hollow body. With the hollow body, we can do some neat stuff to make it a little bit more dynamic once you've mastered the static position. So let me take that all the way back. Work on holding the positions first before you make them more complicated. I guess that's, if you think about it, that makes sense, right? On anything we do. But I feel like with this kind of stuff, people can kind of jump ahead where we're doing several things at one time, and that foundational static hold looks like shit. It's obvious we need to kind of go back and work on the basics. So again, it pays to always work on the basics. I still do this kind of shit in my workouts. Simple. You just want to stay in tune with it. So with the hollow body, if we wanted to make it a little bit more dynamic, easy, simple way, which we did this morning in the Zoom workout, you can do arm pumps
Ooh, yeah.
On the tuck hold, you could do it on any of them. So this adds a little bit of a perturbation is the word. It's hard to say, but when I showed that stability ball, when I did the video, when I was banging on the ball, I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah.
We're introducing a little bit more of a vibrational kind of components. Your body's having to stabilize. So that's a simple way. We can also do in the hollow body position, like flutter kicks.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we can also rock. There's ways of doing, so some ways of just using body weight to make it a little bit more challenging. If we add external load, we could do fun things. Again, back with dumbbells. Well, actually, look. So I've got sandbags, but I know most of y'all don't have them at home, so I'm not even going to show that right here. But with a weight or whatever, you can just hold it pressed out over your lower chest. That adds a little bit more fun, okay? We could go with 2 dumbbells. You could add a more dynamic component by actually pressing them, okay? Alternating. You could do one arm, which is really fun because it makes you want to rotate over to the side. So that can also be done with kettlebells instead of dumbbells. But adding that upper body movement into it with a little bit of a load goes a long way. So we're still doing a core exercise, so it's not really that you're trying to challenge that press. You won't be able to load it as you would on a normal dumbbell bench press, but it's not really the point. So those are some options with the hollow body. Whew, dead bug. Okay, so we're going back here. Okay, so on dead bugs, my basic progression is going to be legs only. So I like to have everyone actually start with an iso hold. So either here or 2 dumbbells pressed up. So if we're going legs only, we're going to flex the ankles and keep your head back. We're going to alternate between left and right. We're doing a heel tap. So this is the first step.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to keep my low back from arching off the floor.
Yeah.
Yeah. So intermediate kind of step would be to do what I call an angled march.
So I was going to say real quick, going back to the first step, when we first did them, didn't we do them?
Wall press?
Yeah.
I was going to say that too. So why don't we show that?
So is that more of that would be one of the first?
Yeah. So
I'm just thinking about people at home.
No, that's good. Because this is kind of a neat way. So I'm a big fan of doing things with clients that enable them to engage better without having to think about it. Because when you start learning how to do exercises, or you're not in the groove of working out, or you're learning something new even though you've been working out, it can be hard to kind of connect everything. So if I can have ways to put people in positions, or a way for them to do an exercise that helps them do it, like brace, it makes sense to do that, right? So the wall bug is an example of that. So what you're going to do is take yourself back. So you don't want to be right up on the wall. It's almost like you're about to press up to a handstand and lock your arms out. So slight bend in my elbows so I can kind of get some press into here, okay? So what I'm going to do is push and engage. So when you push into the wall, you will feel all this brace for you. So yeah, this was a really good idea for you to bring up. And then from there,
Yeah, I think that helped me, because I like dead bugs, but I feel like that helped me learn them better.
yeah, that's why I like using the sandbag, where we can pull the sandbag apart because it creates tension. It's the same kind of thing with this. Really good version for those of y'all at home. And then you can go through the progression of angled march. We can go regular marching. You can even get crazy if you're really good at these and do straight leg.
Oh.
Okay, so that's a very, very, very good variation for the dead bug. With the dead bug, you can actually do a similar, once you've kind of mastered and kind of hammered that, you can do some similar movements with dumbbells like I showed on the hollow body. So we could go back and do, Bobo's slacking. He's supposed to be bringing them up, no weights.
I know. He's totally not
he's
impressed.
fired.
Yeah.
So we could do an iso press, right, with any of the variations. We could do, I have to think about these.
Looks like some kind of weird dance.
Yeah. You could, from there you could go alternating. You could do a one arm press, you know, with either side. You could go, which I would recommend doing one side at a time like that. But with dead bugs, I like being able to alternate the legs. I feel like it's a more natural motion.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't really go down that road often. But just to show how you can kind of like branch out a little bit, you could do the pullover as well with that too. So flipping ourselves over, we're going to go to what's called the arch body position. So that just means that you're on your tum-tum. Okay.
Excuse me.
So you're gonna really important thing here is that this is gonna essentially be the opposite of hollow body, okay? So with that said, with hollow body we're coming up and we're bracing hard here and we're flexing the legs. With arch body we need to really make sure that we flex these guys really hard because if you don't, then it's gonna just crank right here on the low back, and that's no
Squeeze the butt.
So really important. So I think about setting up kind of in an X position. My arms are kind of like I'm making a Y, a capital Y. Thumbs are up. But really all we're doing is squeezing glutes and holding. Okay, so I'm keeping everything I'm not bringing my head up like this. I'm just trying to stay neutral. I'm trying to keep from shrugging my shoulders up.
You look like you're skydiving.
Yeah, and they're also called skydivers. So you can make these more dynamic. We can do swimmers, which is opposites. Okay, you can rock, which is hard. And if you were a dude, I would think that would be very awkward.
Right.
So yeah, those are just some options with the arch body position. So side plank I've touched on several times. I don't feel like I really need to go through it a lot because I have touched on it. But just to recap it real fast. Forearm grip against the floor, gripping the floor with your hand, elbow beneath the shoulders. We want the hips extended. So easiest position is going to be both legs bent. Then from there, we can go to top leg straight. We can move into staggered feet or stacked or even like a star plank.
Hey.
So those are basic hold positions for side planks. We can do all sorts of arm movements. You can make it more dynamic by bringing the hips up and down. You know, we can do leg raise. You can keep it up and do a leg raise. So you've got some options as far as ways that we can make the static hold more complicated. So to sound like, you know, a broken record, you want to make sure that you've dialed in the positions and just holding it first.
Yeah.
So let's go into a little bit more fun stuff. So I wanted to touch on crab position. So we're going to move into supine, which is face up, but on all fours. So crab position, this one's really neato. So I would recommend having the hands either turned out to the sides or fingertips back this way, okay? If you turn them this way, if you like are trying to do a crab walk and you fall, like you could really jack your wrist up because you see how that angle is not optimal. So grip the floor, chest up, shoulders back, and so crab, you can just hover your butt and hold this right here. So of course we can make it a little bit crazier by doing like a crab lift in the animal world. I think that's what they call it. Just raising the legs. So I'm trying not to move the rest of my body. Okay. You can also try to do the same thing with your hands, which is a little bit harder. So I'm like crawling in place without moving my feet. You could also do opposite arm and leg, like I'm crawling. You could actually crawl, okay, forward and backward. That would be fun to do with the kids.
Yeah.
You can make up a little sequence where it's like bear crawl, crab, you know, animal crawls.
Yeah.
So crab position is really, really neato. From crab, there's a movement that I really love called a crab reach, which is a very good kind of glute firing up exercise, and then T-spine extension and rotation kind of feel good movement. So you're going to start in crab, and what's going to happen is we're going to take one arm, and you're essentially going to think about zipping down the middle of your body. So you're going to push through your feet to get your hips up. Once you've gotten to this highest position, you're going to keep reaching with the arm and then come back down. So it's a bridge, right? Like a back bend. Really gets a good stretch through the hip flexors and the front of the body, all this tight stuff with us sitting so much. So that's a really, really good dynamic kind of getting you moving and feeling good. But yeah, so from crab, I kind of went into essentially what's a tabletop, okay? Tabletop position, which you could hold for time or do reps. I like it too because it really gets this stuff kind of stretched. Important that you grip the floor, screw your hands into the floor, set those shoulders. So these are a doozy. I've got to prep myself for these. So simple and so basic, but hard. So again, we want hands to be either to the sides or straight back with the fingertips. I tend to go to the sides-ish, but we're going to do what's called a reverse plank. So all you're doing here is going up and holding for time. You could do these for reps, which is totally hams and glutes. Those are harder than you would expect. That's one of those things. So those give you some options as far as like that on all fours position face up. So we take on all fours face down, we move into more of like bird dogs and stuff like that. So a standard bird dog, legs only, would be pushing the ground away with the upper body. We don't want to be here ever. Push strong, plant the toes, and if we just do legs only, we're trying not to compensate and rotate anywhere with our body as we kick the leg back. Okay, real easy to mess up. If you wanted to make that a little bit more challenging, you could do just a standard bird dog, which is well known in like PT circles. Okay? If you really want to get crunk with it, my preferred way of doing these is to use an ultimate sandbag and do an isodrag, where you set up here, and then we essentially get tension, which really fires up this. This is an example of exercises that make people do things better. I don't really have people do a standard bird dog without equipment. We use the sandbags in here. So get that tension, and it just really lights you up a lot more. Okay? We can also drag the bag across the ground, creating tension and keeping it. So that's a nifty, my favorite way of doing it. I realize a lot of y'all don't have sandbags at home. So if you've got like a heavy dumbbell, you can simulate the isodrag really easily by setting it up. So set it up so that it's not too close to your hands. Get it more towards your knee. But what you'll do is essentially reach and grab it, and you'll pull and lock that arm out. Okay, so you would just have to keep going here, because I just brought out one dumbbell. But if I had two dumbbells, I would alternate. So if you wanted to actually do the dragging variation, you see people doing these with kettlebells. It's not again, my preferred way of doing it. I have to think about it. I don't have people do these. So we're going to grab it, bring it across, kind of flip it over, grab it. So it's similar, but it's not the same. Yeah. Whew. So let me show y'all some beast. So if we take, this is quadruped position right here on all fours. If we hover the knees just slightly above the floor, that's beast position, okay? So it's freaking crazy how challenging holding this position can be for people. Everyone wants to kind of go here or wants to kind of like, so wrists under shoulders. You can see how I'm not changing anything but just picking my knees up.
Yeah,
okay?
It's a doozy.
So from here, oh, I gotta prep myself. From here we can do what are called beast liftoffs. So essentially, back to kind of like the crab stuff, it's like you're crawling in place. So we can go here,
oh yeah,
and alternate picking up the hands. Okay, we can also alternate picking the feet up. We could also go opposites. I have to think about this. Like we're crawling across the floor. So you can see I'm having to really hold and contain. I'm sweating.
And you can crawl, right?
Yeah, you could totally bear crawl or beast crawl. Like bear crawl, you see several types. Like you'll see where people are more like here with their butt up, right? That's fine. But if you're doing it in more of a beast style, you're trying to essentially,
Yeah.
okay, stealthy.
Sneaky beast.
Yeah. Sneaky. So crawling is great. Crawling is core, crawling is scapular stability, getting a lot of good stuff in through hips as well. But also too, it makes your brain work because it's a natural pattern and it's opposite arm and leg. So that's how we walk, run, you know. So yeah, it gets a lot of good stuff up here lit up. Whew. Man, okay, so let me give y'all a few plank options. With a high plank, which is on the hands, little sequence that I like to do for introducing some dynamic movement is we start with what I call a hand march. So with this, all you're gonna do is just pick up a hand. So I'm not letting my hips rotate, okay? If you needed to, you could raise your hands and place them on an elevated, like a stair or some sort of surface that gets you a little bit up more, okay? That'll make it a little bit easier. So the hand march is the first step. Second step, and you can get your feet a little bit wider than shoulder width. That's cool. I like to go to a hand switch, which I also believe is called the shark test. Like when they do the NFL combine,
Oh.
they count how many. So that's the second step. Third step is a shoulder tap, where we're going here. Okay, so you can see how in all three, I'm not doing any sagging, whatever. If it looks like shit, it's shit, right? So those are some options with the high plank. There are obviously a lot more options. If we want to get really fun, bring out the sandbag again. We can do that isometric drag. Let's hit it from over here. So setting it up right in front of the knees, so just like the bird dogs, and then step back. So you're gonna get tension, not drag the bag. Okay, but we can also do the drags. So that would be a progression. Keeping it low on the body. Okay, you see people try to do that with a kettlebell, and again, you can, but it's not the same. But I get it that I would say try to order some sandbags if you're intrigued, and have a yoga mat. You can see how the kettlebell, you're just basically,
Yeah.
you might as well just do these, is what I think, because this just isn't cutting it. So, with forearm planks, we can do some leg movements. Okay, we can tap out to the side. Okay, so you got some options there. High plank you can also, of course, do, you know, tapping, rotating. You could do legs however you know, as long as that's staying in a good position. So, other than that, we got hanging. So for any of y'all that have a pull-up bar at home or a swing set, my clients, most of them know that I'm a big fan of hanging. It's not something that people do in everyday life. Something they probably haven't done in a long time. So main thing, I like to just start people off with a timed hang and see how long they can hang. For most people, it's hard, okay? We want to try to get the knuckles on top of the bar. You don't want to be trying to hang like this. You want to get over it. Okay, you can go thumbs over or under, it doesn't matter. But just a dead hang, I'm just letting my body hang. I'm not trying to pull myself up. So you can just hang for time. So the main thing here though is that I'm not like, I'm dead hanging, but I'm not dumping into extension, right? So I'm trying to be in a hollow body position. So I consider this like a hollow hang is what I call it. So yeah, once you've built up proficiency in hanging, you can do scapular shrugs, which are really good for that shoulder girdle. Okay, we can go into different positions like a hybrid hollow hang, a tuck hang. You can start doing like the chick that was on Ellen, Marissa Inda, who's a very famous power lifter, where she did this like pull-up sequence where she was like stepping her legs up.
Yeah.
You can YouTube it. It's like she's dancing on the pull-up bar. So hanging, there's tons of different things we can do with hang, but that just gives you an idea. And then the last thing I'm going to cover is going to be just standing loaded holds. So Shannon and I shot a video showing the loaded carries on a Saturday. So y'all could take, carrying weight's great. Like you just pick it up and walk, right? That's a great option. But you can also, if you want to go heavier and just hold positions for time, this might look silly, but I'm thinking about my alignment. If I've got bad posture, it's going to make it obvious to me because it's going to hurt somewhere. Mm-hmm. So you can, I'm just doing like a farmer. We could also go to suitcase. So you're not wanting to do this. You have to use a lot of this. Get tension and hold. So that's more challenging because I'm less balanced out, okay? We could also move to a rack hold and just hold that for time. So we could go feet together. We could go bilateral stance, military stance, sprinter stance.
That always gets my core big time.
If you do military stance and lock your glutes in big time, this right here is nothing but core and glutes. Just standing here. So, there's all kinds of possibilities, with loaded holds. So, yeah, people just think about carries, but what about just holding it, So, yeah.
How's your core feel?
I feel pretty good. I didn't even work out today. I feel like I just worked out. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of cover the basic positions and holding those. As you can see, like there's tons of possibilities that you could go from, but for most of y'all, just holding the basic positions for time should be sufficient. And like I said at the beginning of the video, probably, let's say 2 to 4 reps per set of 5 to 10 second holds with a 5-second break in between them should be good. If you feel like holding for 20 seconds, 30 seconds, whatever, go for it. But I'm a proponent of doing more of a maximal tension hold and getting a little break in between. I feel like you'll get a lot more out of it. And you can progress faster to other things that are more fun. So who's got 5 minutes to plank?
Yeah.
Sounds terrible.
Dumb.
So, okay. So I guess we'll wrap it up.
Oh,
Thank y'all for joining us again today.
Yeah. I'm just going to show the workouts real quick.
Bobo's doing he's doing a supine variation. Now he's transitioning to supine. Kind of a side-lying variation. He's showing a more dynamic tail wagging, arm movement. There we go. Oh. Okay.
Oh,
He says TGIF. Y'all hang in there. Sending everybody a virtual hug.
Yay.
Till next time, y'all be good.
Bye.